you get all these people out here now. It's like, well, yeah, you just eat cheese sticks and bacon and blah, 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 and butter. And like that's all you need because it's keto. Because look at your ketone levels.
Yep.
No. Your body runs on micronutrients. Yeah, you have energy that you need from food, but ultimately, like your cells literally do not work and dysfunction massively.
Are you confused about if the keto diet is right for you or how to best use the keto diet for you to have the weight loss and mental performance that you're looking for? Because if you are confused, you're not alone. And that's why we bring on Dr. Anthony Gustin in this episode, which does an amazing job in showcasing and really showing you what really matters when it comes to the keto diet and if it's a right fit for you and how to actually make it work for you if you want to use it. Hi, I'm Chris Dufay and you're watching Breaking Success. This is the show that gives you the answers for you to build the body, the business and the life that you love. Anthony's a huge breath of fresh air in this episode because on one side you've got people saying that keto is absolutely the duck's guts, the bee's knees when it comes to weight loss diets. On the other side of the pendulum you've got people saying that you definitely should not be doing it and it's going to ruin your metabolism and make it harder for you to lose weight. So where's the truth lay? This is what we get into in this episode. Anthony, thank you so much for jumping onto the show with me. I'm excited that we finally connected because I got introduced, actually just as we were talking before we hit record, into what you do into the keto world and the products that you actually have. I was blown away. I was totally impressed. So this is where I want to dive into. I want to pull apart what's actually going on because so much of what's going on in the health, the fitness, the wellness world, keto is a big thing. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of mistruths. But you, sir, are holding a lot of the answers. So I'm really excited to be jumping into this. But firstly, thank you so much for taking the time and being here with me right now.
Well, thanks, man. Hell of an intro. Appreciate it.
All right, let's put it into a nutshell because I'm terrible with actually giving a big introduction and welcome into what's going on. Who are you? Why are you so phenomenal?
Oh, man. It's a long answer, so I don't know how long we have here, but my name is Anthony. I am trained as a chiropractor, so I went to grad school, got my doctorate in chiropractic and master's in sports rehab. That was 5 years ago when I graduated. I moved to San Francisco from Portland at that point and really worked on kind of a hybrid of sports medicine and functional medicine at that time.
Yeah.
Both of those things led me to realize, and I've always been fascinated with nutrition. As I was younger, I was really poor health, and I kind of used nutrition on my own to figure out how to be healthy and how to live an awesome life. So I wanted to do that as well as part of my practice, but even though I thought it was an important part, I realized it was an essential part for either sports injuries, people healing tissues that are messed up. You're not going to do that if you don't have great raw materials, as well as functional medicine. So people have gut problems, diabetes, cancer, all these things, working with that. Nutrition is a cornerstone to any of these problems. And so I really wanted to focus on solving that problem and getting people exposed to as much proper nutrition and, more importantly, education and behavior change as possible. And so realized that wasn't going to happen in my clinic system, even though like we grew from 1 to 6 locations within 3 years. Like it was going very well from every measurable standpoint, but there's just, the scale wasn't there. It was either me or another clinician working on maybe 15 to 20 people a day max because of the way we practice, which is very one-on-one based. And I multiplied. I remember doing this one because I do a big monthly and yearly retreats where I kind of write down all these goals and things that I have, and I did the math of like how many people I could actually impact throughout my life if I continued to go at that pace, and it was like something ridiculous, like low tens of thousands.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's less people than this, like in where I grew up in a small town in Minnesota. Like, this is not good enough, and so. What happened is I launched a company a couple of years ago that's not Equipped Foods, and that's kind of like a whole foods supplement company. And so the whole point there is to get people switching off really awful supplements and onto whole food based products, see that they can make a difference and make a change, and then educate them on the back end of why whole food and real food is the most important thing. And so from that, like, we launched like a all natural pre-workout supplement for kind of the CrossFit and paleo community, and like a grass-fed beef protein, sweet potato powder, greens powder, all this stuff. And that's been phenomenal as well. But more recently, what I focus on now is ketogenic diet. And so that was a therapy I was using with a lot of the athletes I was working with, as well as a lot of the patients who had functional medicine complaints, where we were working kind of whole system. Nothing worked better from a metabolic standpoint to get people kind of hit this reset button. And so as this stuff was growing and as the scene was growing, like you said, it's pretty hot right now. It's crazy how much it's growing. With that is good and bad. So a lot of people learn about what a ketogenic diet can do, but then there comes all of these scam artists who say, oh, well, you just fat loss cure and blah, 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 and you just do it this way. And then there's all this misinformation, like you said. And so one of the things that I saw early on is that I felt pretty obligated to step in, as I feel like I understand it pretty well, and being able to strip it down and tell people, like, look, this isn't a magic cure for everybody. You know, I think it's important that people realize that different things work for different people at different times for different reasons. You know what I mean? And so sometimes I'm following a ketogenic diet, sometimes I'm not. And there's this blanket statement when a trend pops out like this is the best for everybody, no questions asked. And this is the way to do it for everybody, which again is completely false. So that led me to start this other company, Perfect Keto, where I'm spending most of my time now. And what we're doing with that is we have products, like you said, which are, I think, fantastic. And one of the reasons why we started that is my patients and people I was still working with didn't have access to anything. At the time, there was only one company with exogenous ketones, and they were like $250 per tub and not accessible. They didn't taste good. And you had to join this MLM program to be able to buy any of it. And I'm like, no, people need to have this product because it's very, very useful. And so that started. But more importantly, we've been using all of the resources that we've had from growing as a company to invest into education. So I always hammer to the team that, like, we are number one in education platform. Like, we do not sell products. That's just an additive to like what we do as a company. Yes. Our main goal is to educate people on what can work for them, not what's best for everybody, but what can work for the individual. And so we've been cranking out just a ridiculous amount of content and trying to squash all the misinformation. Like you said, there's just so much of it. And so that's kind of what's going on now. And so finding holes where people are having their terrible food choices or making kind of comfort decisions and trying to fill that with a healthy option that also fits in a ketogenic lifestyle is something that we're trying to solve. And then figuring out what people have questions on and really hammering that and providing like really, really great solutions for people who are ready to make changes. And so these people we want are people who are excited to make a change. They're looking for something. They go out there and they look for it, and we have the solution for them to make a positive change that's lasting in their life. That's the most important thing to me.
This is awesome. So especially when
that's the nutshell.
That's a good nutshell. Yeah. I'll chew on that one. Now, when it comes to the common myths, or especially because you say, and this is what I love, is like you're producing a lot of content because you're answering a lot of questions. What are you finding over and over again that people are getting wrong? And then we can start looking to the positives after.
The biggest thing that bothers me is that food quality doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is the biggest thing that really pisses me off. Like, you get all these people out here now. It's like, well, yeah, you just eat cheese sticks and bacon and blah, 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 and butter. And like that's all you need because it's keto. Because look at your ketone levels. Yep. No. Your body runs on micronutrients. Yeah, you have energy that you need from food, but ultimately, like, your cells literally do not work and dysfunction massively if you don't have the right vitamins, minerals, cofactors, all these things for your body to actually run and work. And so that's the biggest thing that I think is that people, like, I would rather have 10 out of 10 times somebody eat a non-ketogenic whole foods diet, kind of like a paleo-ish diet, over just a ketogenic diet where they fit anything in the macronutrient profiles.
Well said. I'm so happy you said that. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
And no one in the space says this. No one in the space for some reason cares about food quality, and it drives me nuts.
Okay. So this is really funny, especially because, damn it, I want to include this in the book, but I've already sent it off to the editor. Okay. So especially when it comes to the health and fitness world, so much of what we kind of are always bombarded with is the quantity side. You know what I mean? So when it comes to the keto world, they're thinking, all right, I just need to be eating X amount of fat and I can get it from any source as possible. But as you just said, do you know what I mean? That could be a really bad thing to do. And I think that's also why so many people are doing the keto diet, keto thing, and actually not getting results from it. Because I've had so many emails come through, especially from females. Actually, I think the common trend is that I'm getting that are people that have like, yeah, I've done it or I'm doing it and they're struggling with it. And I'm like, okay, but when you actually peel a couple of onion layers back, you find that it's completely wrong with what they're doing as well.
Right.
So how do you help somebody understand what it is they should be doing?
When it comes to food quality?
Yeah, let's go definitely food quality. And then let's talk about keto. Let's talk about how does somebody actually understand how to fit it in with themselves if it is the right tool for the right time for the right job.
Yeah, so that's why I always tell people that, like, if they're at a point where they're just eating a really bad diet, and it depends on the problem. Everyone's an individual. So my answer with a lot of this stuff in nutrition is it depends.
Yeah.
So I would say for an average person who just wants to be healthy, I would say, like, start making some food choices. Typically, people are one of two types. They either want to make all choices and decisions at once and go after it, or they want to chip away over a long period of time. So I recognized this long ago when I was working with my patients. It's like some people I could give, a year of homework to and be like, okay, I'll see you later. Let me know if you have any problems. And some people, like, I needed to hold their handle on the process, and that's fine both ways. But with the people who are all or nothing types, I think that they could just go to like a whole foods based ketogenic diet, step of fingers, just like that. No problem. If it's somebody who's coming from a standard American diet, like a lot of people from like my hometown, for example, there's so little education and so little food choice option that it's hard to make all these switches from what they've learned. And so from that, I like to get people removing a lot of the bad stuff in general.
Yeah.
So inflammatory oils, refined sugars, just completely processed foods, and then step them to a whole foods diet. And then from that, start modifying the quantity. So for me, always quality goes first. If you're going to be looking at food choice and food quality and quantity and diet in as a whole. So first step, removing anything that's just plain poison to your body. And then after that, kind of peppering in things that are missing from a whole food standpoint. And then from that, once they get that down and they get those habits made, then switching them to a ketogenic diet and like worrying about, okay, how much are you going to eat and when you're going to eat it.
Okay, brilliant. So especially let's talk about the quality of fats. What are the fat choices that you're steering people away from and where to?
A lot of refined oils, or a lot of things like people, if they go to a restaurant, like, oh, this thing's fried or whatever, because it's fine. So inflammatory oils are the biggest thing to me. Also any kind of processed foods. And so like cheese sticks or like craft cheese singles or like Velveeta. Like I can see people like on Instagram, people could tag me and say like hashtag keto, and it's like a bowl of melted Velveeta. Like, that stuff comes in a spoon, and like that's their snack, and it's like, oh, it's keto. It's not. Sure, it is. Like your ketone levels are fine, but like you're literally just destroying your body. And so like those type of like processed foods, Velveeta, you get like it's supposed to be cheese, but it sits in the non-refrigerated section of a grocery store. Like, I don't know if you guys have that down under, but so
good.
like those type of things. And it just, again, really depends on the person, but as much whole food based stuff that they can get as possible. So I steer people towards a lot of avocado, a lot of coconut oil, a lot of really like wild fish and wild game and grass-fed meat and things like that. I think that a lot of people are missing a lot of that too. And so, I mean, that goes to say too, like people will eat, let's say, chicken thighs from a really bad source. Well, you get really bad fat at that point. If you're getting a sick animal, you're going to get bad fat. And so actually, if you're going to have, if you need to, let's say you're on a budget and you're trying to get fat from an animal source and you're trying to get cheap animal source, it's actually way better to get a lean source, because a lot of the bad, both from like a accumulation standpoint from whatever the animal's eating and from the inflammatory response, comes in the fat. And then also a lot of the good comes in the fat. And so that's what you're really paying for in meat, is like the micronutrients coalesce a lot more in the fat. And so if you get like, let's say bison, and it looks like the fat looks like orange or super yellow compared to like a really cheap grocery ground beef, and it's like white and waxy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference between fat quality and micronutrients.
Yeah.
And so
I noticed that when I was in LA, when I was eating like the bison and buffalo, like the different colors of the fats, I was like, oh, this is really good. Like I was really enjoying getting into those meats.
Yeah. And the fat breaks down way easier. So like you can taste it in your mouth. It's not like a waxy coating in your mouth. Like you just digest it normally because it's real fat, right? and so if people are on a budget, like I said, steering, like going towards lean meat and then getting stuff where you can get like, say, coconut oil in larger amounts and things like that. But in coconut milk, if from an appropriate source, things like that. So more obviously omega-3, as everybody knows, this type of thing, steering away from inflammatory stuff. A lot of olive oil, a lot of avocado oil is what I use personally. eggs, a lot of like pastured eggs and like egg yolks, I think are a fantastic source of micronutrients.
Awesome. Now, one
So
of the things
fat
I
choice.
keep seeing as well is people thinking low carb is keto. And I think this is where they're getting wrong as well, because I find people are struggling with like the energy, the hunger, the cravings, all this kind of stuff, because I feel like with keto, it's something you've got to get right. Otherwise, you're kind of in like this midline area where it's just really not going to work for you as well. So they're either too high with protein, or they're just trying to do like low carbs, but they're obviously actually not getting enough fats in there as well. How do you help people kind of like navigate through these problems?
Yeah. And so this is, I think, all about education, where, like you said, low carb and keto are not the same thing. And so I wrote a big article on my website about this as well. But low carb, basically, if you don't know your ketone levels and if you're actually burning ketones for energy, then that can be a huge mistake. So I had this problem. I was doing this for a long time as well. So I thought I was doing keto in undergrad like 10 years ago. It wasn't like, I just felt like crap. And it came down to the standpoint where like my body was still running on carbohydrates, but I just restricted the energy source.
Yeah.
And so that a lot of times when people feel like poor energy or have hormonal problems, things like that, it's because they're still trying to use carbohydrate as an energy source and they're not getting any of it. So your body goes, what the hell is this? Like I need something to go here. And so it's shutting down. And then people can start gaining weight and have all these problems. And so my number one question for people at that stage is, are you testing your ketone levels? And yes, I understand that these machines to test in the strips can be a little expensive up front, but it's a small investment that when you get to a point where you can see like, oh, okay, I can get away with eating a chicken breast today and not be out of ketosis, and like set these rules that work for you as an individual.
Yeah.
Then you have a template that works the rest of your life or the rest of the couple of years, and you can reach health goals. And so if somebody especially has like obesity or diabetes or some of these health conditions that they're trying to manage, I mean, what's cheaper, a $50 meter and a couple of strips, or years and years and years of chronic disease?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty simple to look at that point.
Yeah.
And so you have to test in the beginning, in my opinion.
Okay.
If you haven't done ketosis in the beginning, like in the urine strips are kind of a nice indication at the beginning that you're kind of entering ketosis, but they're not definitive over the long term. You can't see how you respond to certain foods. And so my big thing is that people are very individual with how they respond to certain food types and different times. And so a guy like you, I mean, what do you have? What do you like? 280, 3% body fat? What's going on?
I'm bang on 100 kilos at the moment. So what's that? 220?
220. Yeah. So you're going to be able to eat way more carbs, especially if it's after a workout, than let's say a overweight middle-aged woman in the Midwest in the United States. And that's just a lot to do with metabolism, the way it is now, how you're training. Your muscles demand a certain amount of glycogen and storing it in your liver. Like you're just a different size than the other person. And so this is another thing that kind of goes along with this, but you can't just have a blanket statement that's like ketosis is less than 50 grams of carbs.
Yes, exactly.
Or less than 25 grams of carbs. I know some people who they can get away with about 100 grams, 125 grams of carbs per day, especially over a long period of time. And most people will be like, oh no, that's nonsense. Well, like, for that individual, it actually works really, really well.
Yeah.
And they can stay at a high level.
Yeah.
And so everyone responds differently. I have a problem. Like I discovered a big problem with protein where I need to really break up my protein intake or else I get kicked out.
Yeah.
Whereas one of my employees, we were testing it, he can eat a whole chicken and it'll be fine. And so the way you metabolize protein can be different from person to person, even though we're about the same size and about the same body comp and like everything else is pretty similar. We respond to that very differently.
I think that's a really good point. If I could just jump in, because again, it comes back to the quality of the foods and what you're actually choosing, because it's not just, okay, if I have 50 grams of protein in this meal, it's like, no, what are the foods and what's my response to those foods as well? And I think that's a really good part, because you've got to test these things. If you don't test, you're literally just flying blind.
Yeah. Is the protein, is it a protein powder? Is it an animal protein? Is it a plant protein? Are you eating it with fat, without fat? Are you eating it before workout, after workout, in the morning, in the evening? Like all these things matter from a metabolic standpoint. And unless you're testing on yourself and thinking about this way, you're never going to know. And you're always going to be guessing and you're not going to get results. And that's just the reality of it.
And I'm even testing after every meal, before I have a meal,
1 hour after, 2 hours after every meal, I'm taking my blood glucose as well, just as like, and I'm like, I know this is totally geeking out and I'm getting back into it. This is like way too far for so many people. But again, this is where I want to see. And I'm finding different foods react differently to my blood sugars. And then then I'm kind of like using the Oura ring to see, all right, how am I stressed out that day? Am I sleeping well? What's going on with my body temperature? And all those kind of factors as well. Now, bringing it back to the actual keto, so you are recommending to test it with blood strips?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it.
Is there any recommendation of like which one, if somebody was tuning in right now, which one that you would recommend to go and get?
It depends what country you're in, but if you're in the United States, I use Precision Extra Abbott Labs one, and that one has been the most reliable to me. I've tested everyone that's out there.
Yeah.
And so that's what I use now.
Perfect. Okay.
I know there are different ones in different countries though.
Awesome. Okay. Are there any other common myths that you're finding?
Yeah, hormones, women's hormones, and that it's not good for women, and
Yeah.
that you need to cycle off keto for women. I think that's just so ketogenic diet in that respect. Either one, people are not in ketosis; they're just going low carb, like we just talked about, as a problem hormonally. Two, it's very easy. I do this all the time. Undereat on ketogenic diet.
Yes.
Like when I'm really in keto, like I will have one meal a day. I'm like, oh, well, what? And I've been tracking it. I look at it's like 1,200 calories. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I need to eat way more than this. And then at the end of the day, I try to like force feed myself, and that's very easy to do. So that women under eating can do that. Training systems, like if I get a lot of these where it's a woman who under eats, is not doing keto, and is doing CrossFit 7 or 9 times a week. And so like, you're the training system too, like they try to ramp up intensity a lot of times. These people who have problems with this type of stuff and claim hormonal problems, well, you're just constantly stressing your body out, and you can't recover and adapt a lot. You're making a lot of changes, your body's switching energy systems, but yet you're pushing it even harder in the gym to an energy system that it can't really support and it's not really great for. So
I
that's
also found this, especially with, say, like the intermittent fasting side with women, and it was usually a combination of they were already under eating, they were already overtraining, under recovering, stressed, doing everything, kind of having that more is better mentality. So therefore, when they throw something else like keto, intermittent fasting in, it could usually just be another stressor in the body that might be the tipping point for like worse to happen.
Exactly. And so that's the whole point I was trying to make it too, with that changing your energy system is, no matter what food you have, is like, if I go from ketosis to carbohydrates, that's just a stress response to the body. So most of the time that can be a good thing, but you only have so much to respond to. And so if you're chronically stressed throughout your day, like you have a job you don't like and things aren't going well at home, plus you're overtraining and you're not recovering and you're not eating good quality food and you're under eating that food and you're not actually in ketosis, like, yeah, I mean, this stuff is hard and it's not easy to do so, but that's why I'm always very specific that people need to have an individual approach and can't look for, well, I'm going to use this calculator and it's going to tell me exactly what I need. No. You need to step back and test it for yourself. It can be a good guiding principle, and it's great for a starting point.
Yeah.
But at that point, you need to say, like, is this working for me? Yes or no, and why or why not?
Nice. Okay, let's go nittier, grittier. Why would we want to use exogenous ketones?
Yeah, so it depends on the person and the goal. Like I was saying before, they're not a magic fat loss pill or powder. So I want to make that extremely clear. So a lot of people ask me, they buy the product and they say, well, I haven't lost any weight this week and I've been taking it 2 times a day. I'm like, well, it doesn't make you magically lose fat. I mean,
do you get that?
I mean, yeah, all the time, which is, I think, due to the bad marketing from everybody else who's trying to sell it as a weight loss product. And so they buy ours thinking it's going to be that way. It's not the case. I use a ketogenic diet for 2 different reasons. One, because I really, I used to be overweight and really unhealthy when I was younger, and I just respond better and feel way better and have a lot of energy throughout the day compared to when I eat carbohydrates. It's just the way I feel. And so it just works for me. Number 2 is like the mental clarity and energy I get being in a ketogenic diet is so much better than anything else I've experienced. And I've tried like all these nootropics and all that kind of stuff. And like nothing will get me to a point with just like eating a ketogenic diet well. That being said, this is a very individual thing. And so when I test my ketone levels, I can't, unless I'm like fully fasting, I can't get over like a 1.8, 2.0 millimolar, which is how you would measure this in the blood in the United States. I don't know if it's different there, but I feel the best when I'm at like 3.0 millimolar.
Wow.
And I can't get there.
That's pretty high, isn't it?
Yeah. But like mentally, and like that's different for everybody, but like mentally, I feel the best there. I can't get there without exogenous ketones.
Gotcha.
So I think to increase levels to where people feel the best without having to fast for 48 hours is a good reason. Another reason I think is endurance training, and so in just training in general. And so I think that if you're going to continue doing weightlifting and things like that, I don't really recommend a ketogenic diet for instance, somebody who's doing high intensity stuff like CrossFit. I just don't think it's a good fit. It's possible, yes, but it's generally not a great fit in my opinion. Like you're going to feel better and perform better if you have more carbohydrates, and that's just the way it is. I'm not doing that crazy of workouts right now, but I feel much better in a workout if I am using exogenous ketones during the workout. And so breaking down fat for energy is a pretty slow process. And so when you ask your body to ramp that up, well, you need more of those ketones around for energy. And so that is another reason why I use them. And so performance for me, I think that, so these are my reasons personally.
Yeah.
So that I feel awesome in the gym and I'm out. For somebody else, let's say who's just entering a ketogenic diet, they can be used to help the transition from even a low carb or high carb diet to a ketogenic diet. And so there's usually this phase where your body's switching energy systems that it's pretty tough. And so doing that slowly is not really pleasurable. And so peppering in exogenous ketones, you can give your body a little bit of energy and it says, oh, I guess we can use this stuff now. And it starts taking it up.
It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of see it as it helps it flick the switch on which fuel source it's wanting to be used. And I think it was, you alluded to this before, and I think I took this from Ray Cronise, where so many people say doing maybe just more of a lower carb approach.
Right.
And they're thinking it's the quantity amount, do you know what I mean? But what I took from Ray Cronise was you could still be, say, more in that glycogen carbohydrate fuel burning. So you're heading in the wrong direction. So many people think about, how do I ramp up my metabolism? And it's like, no, you're just thinking about the speed of the car. Think about which direction of the car is going first, and then you can speed it up.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. He's an awesome guy, by the way. Super smart.
Way smart. Okay, I want to get nitty gritty. I kind of want to get into the weeds of this stuff and pull this apart. Timing of exogenous ketones. Let's put this in context for somebody starting out into this whole world. You alluded to before, like say during the workout. Are there any other times that you would say the time of using exogenous ketones might be right?
Yeah. So I think it's, again, depends on the individual and what they want. And so I think that if it's a transitional thing, I think that doing it whenever throughout the day on an empty stomach is a great decision. I think that, so I do it in the morning typically. And then if I work out, to have that timing for the mental performance and then as well for the physical performance. I also think that it can be used as a curbing cravings. And so if somebody, let's say, is getting off of carbohydrates, or even they have a sweet tooth or something like that, what happens is when you take this, ketones, even in the presence of carbohydrates, are preferentially taken up by the brain and the heart. And so the brain modulates a lot of these cravings. And so what happens is that it can actually decrease both appetite and cravings. And so that way, instead of like just living with a craving and having this turmoil, I think it's a good option to do it then. And we've gotten a lot of fantastic feedback about people incorporating it that way. Awesome. I think in type of like smoothies or like bulletproof coffee type of stuff is another way to just boost ketone levels even further than just MCT oil or butter would go.
Yep.
I don't really think that it's worthwhile doing it with a meal. And this is a huge thing too, is that people think that if you have exogenous ketones or ketogenic diet type of stuff with a meal, that you're going to gain fat because your body's going to be using carbs and you can't burn the ketones, which is just an absurd statement to me. It's that what that means is that people are thinking that if you eat anything with a carbohydrate, that will be stored as fat. And it's just, that doesn't make any sense. Like your body is a complicated piece of machinery. Like you can handle that. And like I said, even in the presence of carbohydrates and protein, your body will use ketones for energy in your brain and your heart and some of your muscles too. It's like just from that fact alone, like you're not going to store that as fat. Yeah. I don't think it's I don't think it's just necessary. I think that you should just use that food as the fuel at that time. So I think
I like that. As in, like, you're not going to get the biggest bang for your buck by using that product.
Right. So I'd say skip it around that. I mean, but test it. I mean, so I know some people who, and Mary's one of these people actually. Mary Paleo Chef, she was talking about how she takes it with certain foods and feels way less bloated and feels really good afterwards. I was like, I don't know exactly why that would be, but if it's working for you, awesome. Keep doing it. Like,
yeah, totally.
It's one of these things where it just depends for the person. And that's why you have to test all this stuff and figure out when it works best for you. I've heard people, and I don't have this experience, but I've heard people saying that before bed, it helps them get deeper sleep. And actually some people have tracked even with the Oura ring, how it has the really intense sleep tracking.
Yeah.
That when they take it, they get much deeper sleep for much longer.
Interesting.
I don't have that response, so I don't know how.
I'm totally going to test that.
Yeah, so test it out, and and if this is the thing too, like there's a lot we don't know still, and I'm going to be the first one to admit that. Like we're still learning a lot of this stuff about ketogenic diet and ketones, and like I feel like the more I know, the less I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. This is interesting. Selfishly, I'm putting myself into this situation and being like, okay, how do I best use it, or how does this work for me with it, especially with what's going on? I definitely don't follow a ketogenic diet at the moment, but I find I cycle in between. So I've kind of thought about this and say, all right, on a metabolic flexibility standpoint, I usually don't eat until 11 or 12, maybe sometimes 2 during the day. So I kind of see the first portion of my day being more in a metabolic process. And then the last part of the day where I do my weight training and everything can be more of an anabolic process. So I kind of see, and this is where I've used your product before. So the first time I got introduced to it was actually, I was in a fasted state and was just about to do a podcast, and I had it was the matcha with the 4 Sigmatic lion's mane in with it as
it's
well.
It's a good combo. I actually literally had that like 3 hours ago.
Oh my God. I was like doing backflips the whole time. I was like, I am sold on this straight now. So that was really good. And I was like, look, I enjoy that because I don't always have to go for the coffee. And I found my coffee intake was getting up and up and up. I was like, hang on, I know that I'm a fast caffeine metabolizer genetically, but it doesn't mean I want to keep pumping through this stuff. And I found it a really good way to actually say like, no, I want to be able to have some cognitive enhancement, but also, do you know what I mean? I can help my fat burning metabolic state during that time where I'm not eating. And then I can switch to say being able to include carbohydrates in my diet as well. So I'll come back to you as I play with this and kind of like report back with how everything happens. But
yeah, I'd love to hear it.
That's interesting because I also see like, it doesn't have to be an either or. It's not like I cram carbs in every meal or I'm completely keto. It's like, hang on, we can find some balance in between what's going on.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, in the human body, like even if you are eating carbohydrates to some extent, will produce and make ketones, just not under like an amount that registers in the ketone meter. Like it's not an all or nothing thing.
Yeah.
Your body does use a lot of different energy systems at a time. And even when you're fully ketogenic, your body still uses carbohydrates for fuel. It's not like a switch that is just in a binary thing that's just a 0 or 1 on or off. Yeah. It's a complicated mix of all this stuff all the time.
Well said. Okay. Now, when it comes to your actual products, which ones do you use? Which ones do you like recommending? Because I especially find this like we usually, and I found this with my products, like I made it for myself first. So therefore I was like, hey, let's share it. Do you know what I mean? The exact same thing happened to you. So I want to be able to say, let's get this out there. And I do highly recommend it. So what do you recommend?
Yeah, so I literally did the same thing. So yeah, I know that I said that before. I made it for my patients and everything else like that. But truly, I make every product like I need to want to use this. Yeah, what do I want, or what do I want to like stop paying for, as much as I am, and so everything that we have is something that I use. I would say not on a daily basis, but regularly. And I was just traveling for the last 2 months, and there were some pit stops. So like. I picked some up in LA. So I'm based in San Francisco and I was all over the place. And then I was in LA. I grabbed some there. I was in Australia. And then ran out because we used it all. And then I had shipped to Nashville. So I went to Nashville and grabbed it there. And then I kind of switched my goals and my priorities. So I switched the products I was using. And then I went to Argentina and used it there. And then I had some shipped to New York. And then I went there and started using it there. So, I mean, I'm pretty strategic with my use of my own products here, but so the exogenous ketones are the ones that I use, like I said, in the morning or in a workout, just to have that boost of actual ketone levels. Like you said, we have MCT oil powder instead of actual oil, and so the reason why we do that is because the acacia fiber is what we use to attach the oil to, is actually really good for your gut, and you're able to digest the oil way cleaner than you would if you have MCT oil as an oil. Also, I travel a ton, and I can travel with powder more than I can travel with a giant drum of oil. Like,
that's so true.
It also mixes way easier in things, so I don't have to have a blender and all this stuff to make something that tastes delicious and I can have a great benefit from.
Yep.
So we have that one. The one you have is with the matcha flavor, and it's funny that you're talking about you mix it with the lion's mane with the Four Sigmatic stuff. I literally a couple hours ago had that same thing.
Such a good combo
with coconut milk and some water and ice. So
nice.
It worked with the Galec. I also this is literally because why, but like I've been doing a lot more gymnastics work the last few months, and I've been pretty big on collagen for a long period of time. I think that people generally eat too much muscle meat. They're not getting enough balance in protein intake. And so, I mean, if you think about it, like you eat muscle meat, which grows muscle tissue, right? If you don't eat collagen and gelatin and these things that have your connective tissues, you're not going to have a good base and strong support to have your muscles grow. Like you need to have your connective tissue and your joint surfaces and your skin and everything in between also fed as well. And so I've been big on collagen. So like I was saying earlier, if you're eating protein shakes, a lot of times it'll kick you out of ketosis because that protein metabolizes so quick that it increases your blood sugar. And so we paired MCT oil powder with collagen so that you can stay in ketosis while you take this stuff.
Nice.
And so we have that. And so we have chocolate flavor that's amazing. That is my go-to. I had that.
Which one's that called?
It's keto collagen, perfect keto collagen. And so there's that greens powder as well. I made, so I have through the Quib, I told you I had a greens powder, but again, we had kind of a huge blend of different type of plants and fruits and vegetables. So there was like 5-6 grams of sugar. I noticed that it was kicking some people out of ketosis. And so we made a ketogenic friendly one, which also has MCT oil in to help blunt that response. And so you can actually absorb some of the nutrients. And so that's another big problem with the ketogenic diet is people don't get enough micronutrients.
Yep.
And so a lot of times you just can't, because of like if you eat that many plants, they're going to have carbohydrates and it's going to kick you out.
That was exactly where I was at. It was funny was what you said, because I found I was totally under eating because I could go through the day with only having a few meals. And then by the time you want to be able to get enough protein, then the fats and everything in there. And I really enjoy eating vegetables. Like I was usually eat about 1 kilo of vegetables a day. Do you know what I mean? And that just doesn't swing when you're actually trying to stay,
right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And amounts you want.
Yeah, even if you douse them in fats, a lot of times it doesn't work and you have to be really choosy. And so that to me is just like a nutritional insurance that, awesome. Yes, whole food is always better. I'm not saying take these supplements and that it's going to fix everything. No, eat whole food and real food first. But if you have some gaps, you can fill it in here. We also have a workout product that, because like what was happening is I was taking some of the other brand pre-workout with our exogenous ketones, and it's like, this is too much. Like I want some like BCAAs and creatine and everything else in it. And so we made that product for athletes. And so like it's that, and basically we have flavors extended up throughout all those products, and we're working on a lot more stuff that I want. But that's generally, we're moving into the moving into the realm of food products. And so those are the ones that we're going to be focusing on moving forward. And so replacing, like I said, where people are reaching for foods and having really bad choices, we're going to come up with solutions for that. And so I can't say it. Maybe a lot of people mad at me if I do that. But the first one should drop in a couple weeks.
All right, we'll wait. We'll do another one later, and then it's all good. We can talk about stuff.
Yeah. So I literally use all the products, and some people may not have a need for any of them. That's completely fine. Like I said, these supplements and things like that. People don't understand that the use is in the name. It's supposed to supplement something else. Yeah. And in my opinion, that's like a good lifestyle, like proper nutrition, proper movement, proper sleep, proper stress management. Once you have all that stuff taken care of, then you can start playing with these things and using supplements, in my opinion. Like they're not replacements.
Well said.
Right? They're not shortcuts. I'm not selling shortcuts. And so I want to make that very clear too. Like if you don't have those things figured out, like spend money to do that, and don't get any of our stuff or anybody else's stuff. Like it's not going to help. do the real stuff and the like the hard work first, and then add on stuff after that.
I also really want to speak to as well, with what I appreciate you doing, is the quality of the products as well that you're producing, because obviously, like, being in the supplement world, knowing the shady stuff that can happen.
It's dirty, man.
Crazy. And that scared the living bejesus out of me when I first got into it. And I was like, oh my God. But it obviously, like, it motivates you to do more, to bring good. And that's why I was like, you're actually doing really good quality stuff. And I want to be able to help people actually get the right quality. And that's exactly what I want to get you on.
Well, again, these products are for me, and I don't want to take a bunch of crap. So
yeah.
I mean, we in the beginning, the first product we launched was supposed to be, I think it was like 14.8 grams, something like that. And we got it, and the serving size was like 15.8. And I was like, what is this? I'm like, oh, well, we needed to put this and this and this and this, and the machine ran, and so it was stable, and so it didn't foam. I'm like, no, like, they're like, wait, no, don't worry. Everybody does it. It's industry standard. You don't have to put it on the label. Like, just put it in there. You don't have to disclose it. It's fine. I'm like, no, like, what are you talking about? And it's like that was a huge lesson learned back then, huge issue. But since then, like, we have an awesome manufacturing partner that is like, they are super strict because they know like how intense I am about stuff, and it's really, really awesome. But yeah, I mean, likewise, the supplement industry is really, really awful, and it's pretty sad. And so, like, if anybody wants to see our COAs of like what we say is in the products in there, because about 95% of the companies don't actually have the effective ingredient in the product, which is insane, or like the amount to which they say. Yeah, we'll disclose that stuff. I don't care.
That's so funny. No, it's really good. Okay, where do you want everybody to go to now? This has been phenomenal.
Yeah, so I'm most active personally on my Instagram, which is at @dranthonygustin, and then Perfect Keto is at perfectketo.com, and then my personal website is dranthonygustin.com.
Perfect. Okay, we'll make sure that we'll pop the links below for everybody to click on over to. Thank you so much. This has been good. We've nailed this. We've covered so much. I know there's so much more that we can cover in a later date as well. I'll definitely want to be able to get questions from everybody that's tuned in so we can start nailing those off as well. But dude, thank you. This has been great.
Yeah, appreciate it. Do you want to do a little discount for the people listening?
If you would like.
What do you want to do, Chris? Let's do Chris D20 for 20% off.
All right,
Chris, let's do it.
20. Oh,
Christmas comes early.
All right, we'll make sure we'll pop this down in the show notes as well. This comes out with it.
Now, this is where I want to make sure that you get the most out of being here, and I want to hear from you. So if you've enjoyed this episode, click like, and make sure I can send you the new episodes each and every week. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Also, I really want to make sure that I'm giving you exactly what you need. So comment below. I want to know what you're going to take away from this episode. And the best conversations after every episode always happen in the Breaking Success Tribe. I'll pop a link below for you to join the free group so you get access to the guides, the live streams. I'm in there answering your questions personally each and every day. Plus you get all the episodes as well. So thank you so much for being here and joining us. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.